Hi everyone, this is Jonathan and Max is here too. Thank you so much. We're getting started with our next Konstru webinar. We're very excited today. We have more than 100 signups. So this is going to be good, I think. And we noticed that there are many new signups for this webinar that I don't think have seen previous ones. So we're going to show another introductory webinar today. So this is only going to be 30 minutes. We'll give a brief intro and then we'll do a hands-on demo to show you how you can get started with Konstru and how you can send models back and forth between different platforms. And then we'll open it up to questions. So if you have any questions along the way, please do not hesitate to ask them at any time. There's a questions panel in this webinar interface, so you can ask questions as soon as you like to, and we'll get to them in the end. All right, so a little bit of background. Max and I met at some point when I gave a demonstration to their office. At the time I was working at Thornton Tomasetti and he was working at Henna Architects, and so later on he joined us at Thornton Tomasetti for a few years, and we worked together primarily on a interoperability solution that we had been working on in-house for a while. And about a good year ago, exactly in the end of January of last year, we launched that product as a standalone company, which is now Konstru. And I want to show you just for 3 minutes why we at the time started working on this kind of issue and why we think this is an important problem for the industry. And so this is 2010. In 2010, Bjarke Ingels started designing their very first building in the United States. And Thornton Tomasetti was the structure engineer for this building. And I got involved in it in the summer of 2010 when we were still in the early schematic design phase. And the design changed every couple of weeks. So in June, this was a 15-story building. On July 3rd, this was a 20-story building. And it evolved every couple of weeks until the design was fixated at 34 stories in August. And it was, you can kind of imagine by this geometry, it was pretty difficult as structural engineers to respond to the architects frequently with design impacts. And so what we had done, okay, yes, we had discovered Grasshopper. This was 2010. This was still really new to us. But also what we had done was we had this parametric model that would allow us to change the geometry based on the architect's needs. But then we had developed some custom scripts that would let us assign material definitions and different attributes in a way that we could bring this information out of Grasshopper and out of Rhino and into the structure analysis program that we used for concrete design, which is ETABS. So at the time, the easiest way to do, or the only way to do this, was using an E2K file. There was no API to communicate with ETABS yet. So basically, we developed this script that would generate a text file, and it would define this in a way that ETABS would understand it. And then engineers could, open the file, and they could start defining all the loads and all of that, and start running the analysis and start understanding how the building might behave, and what the design implications are. Now, the downside with this kind of workflow is, this is great for very early design. If the building changes so drastically that you essentially need a new ETABS file every single time anyway. But once you're later on in the design phase, once you enter DD or CD stages, this is not sustainable anymore. We don't want to basically have to regenerate a whole new analysis model, or let's just say a whole new documentation model every single time. And so essentially, like I said, this was 2010 when we had this issue, and there were some similar problems that we worked on in the past. But essentially, since then, we had been working internally at Thornton Tomasetti on this interoperability program called, at the time, TTX, which is now Konstru. And the idea is that we have, at this point, 8 different plugins for different desktop applications that can push and pull to a central data repository. Okay, so yeah, basically, one thing that we've added is the ability to track changes over time. And we're going to show you what this means during the demo today, so that you can understand where your project is at any given point in time and how it went from where it was a week ago to where it went, where it is today. And the other thing that we've added, and this goes a bit to the point of it's not useful to having to regenerate an entire model every single time, is when you, well, yes, we can do updates to existing models. We're also going to show that today, but we also let you specify how you want to update your existing model. So if you are not interested in, overwriting your material assignments in the existing ETABS model with new materials coming out of Revit, then with Konstru, you can simply say, okay, yes, give me geometric updates, but do not give me material updates for these elements. So we have ways of doing that. We call those filters. And finally, something that we've also learned from 6+ years of using this in-house is that we need to give engineers and architects and contractors a lot of transparency over what is about to change to their model. So when I accept an incoming change into my existing model, I want to know which elements are about to be updated, deleted, moved. I want to know that, and I want to see that before I accept the change. And so with Konstru, we also give you that ability. There are many other things we'll talk about a little bit more in the end, but for now, we're going to just give you a demo. Max will give you a demo of basically just how to get started and how to do something much more powerful than what we did in 2010.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. So I'm going to show my screen now. So this is our web application. So you can sign in into our web application at app.konstru.com. And once you signed in, you will see this as your start screen, which shows your models and also your timeline. Now, if you haven't installed Konstru yet, the plugins for Revit, for example, because today we're going to show Revit to ETABS, you can do that here. There's a button saying Get Plugins. If you click this one, you will see all the supported plugins that we have, and you can download the installer. So you can just install that, and then you will have Konstru in your application. Now, the first thing I have to do to upload a model to Konstru is creating a new model. On the right-hand side at the top, there's a button saying Create a New Model. I'm clicking it, and I'm going to call it Revit ETABS demo, for example. And I can type in a description if I want to. Now I'm going to click Create New Model, and this creates a new Konstru container. So this container is basically empty. Understand it as a normal file, and it has nothing in there. There's already a video popping up explaining you how to upload from Revit. Now we're going to do this live. So I'm going to go to Revit, and after installing Konstru, you will find Konstru in the Konstru menu bar, and there's a Konstru button. So I have a sample model here that I prepared earlier, and I'm going to click Konstru. Now a dialog pops up that lets me also log in if I haven't signed in yet, and then I can select the model I just created. In this case, it's called Revit ETABS Demo, the one I just did online. I'm going to select it, and now since there's nothing in the model, I can only update Konstru. So I'm going to upload my Revit model into Konstru. Now we have to enter a message like for this version that we're going to create, and in this case we have a suggestion called first upload. So this is fine, and we're going to say update Konstru. And now what Jonathan just mentioned, we're creating a review every time we're changing something. So in this case, we're going to update Konstru, and we get a review about what is going to change. So in this case, we're adding 312 elements from our Revit model into Konstru. We can explore those elements here. We will see there are 6 levels, load patterns, grids, walls, floors, and so on. Now, this dialog will be more interesting as you go with Konstru, because then you will have updates in there. We will see that later. For now, we're going to just continue and say finish update. Now, Konstru is going to upload those changes to the server. And once it's done, we can already click on a button that takes us directly to the model. It says View Model. So I'm going to click this one. And now the browser loads again my model. And it will take me to our web viewer where we can see the model we just uploaded. So here, this is rendering, and you can see this is the model that we just pushed to the server. So We're going to show you some options how you can explore your model online a bit later. But for now, I'm just going to download this model into ETABS because that's the core functionality we're talking about at Konstru. So we're making it very easy for you to translate from one application to the other. And we're going to translate from Revit into ETABS today. So now I have my model online and I can see it's exactly like it is in Revit. And I'm going to go to ETABS. After installing Konstru, you will also find it in here in Tools, and there's Konstru. Now click it, and again the same dialog will appear. And it's loading the models right now. It takes a bit of time at the moment. But here you also have to sign in sometimes. So sorry for the delay. Sometimes if your internet connection is like maxed out, like mine at the moment, because I'm transferring a video, it can hang a second. In the meantime, I can show you also what you can do with Konstru Online, because online we have a pretty powerful viewer. So if you go to the Visualize tab and you go to the right-hand side, you can view your model by default, which just shows the model as we see it right now, or you can also explore it by different properties. For example, if you select Profile, you will see your model rendered with all the profile sections. So let me zoom in here, and then you can actually see all those profile sections in different colors. On the right-hand side, you will see a list of those. So for example, we can see that there's W18 by 40, and there are 82 of it. But this is just a side feature, because actually what we're about is interoperability. This makes your life much easier to also explore your model and just see the changes online. Now let's get back to ETABS. In ETABS, I have the same dialog again as I had before in Revit, and I can select the Revit ETABS demo model. I'm going to select this one, and now I have another option in here as well. It's not only update Konstru, but also download into ETABS. I'm going to select download, and Konstru again, this will show me a difference about what's going to happen. So this is review, saying 273 elements will be added to my model. Now this number is different than what we uploaded earlier. So this is why, because we have some elements that are not supported in here, like the opening shafts from Revit are not supported in ETABS. We have some features of how to bring them in, but we'll explain this in other tutorials. So now I'm going to say finish download, and this is a very important step here. This is the Konstru mapper. The Konstru mapper maps incoming materials or floor build-ups or profile sections to your document, because in Revit you have different materials. So for example, in Revit we have a material that's unknown, and we also have a steel A992. You also see it already, we map it to A992 because we know that these materials belong together. But you can also select something else. So in this case, you could also just create this one new or select concrete to map it to. Or you have the areas like the build-ups that are coming in as new build-ups, and we also have profile sections for beams and columns. And in this case, if your profile section is in the model, we already map it automatically. But if it's a new one that you don't have in your model, we can create it on the fly. So just leave it at create new. I'm going to select OK, and these changes will be applied to my model. And in here, we get a last message from Konstru telling us that we just created a new material, which was called unknown, and we might want to check it later. So now I'm going to say done. And here I can see my model. Now let's have a look at it. So this is the model, and I can also see, and let's extrude some of the columns, so we can actually see that all the section sizes are in here. So this is the model just as we had it in Revit. Now what I can do here is run my analysis, for example, and apply loads. We also support analysis results. We showed that in another webinar once, and we're going to show it again. So don't worry, if you missed that one, we can also view it online, but we're going to do another webinar where we're going to explain how to actually upload forces from ETABS, for example, or SAP or RAM, and you can upload them to Konstru and then download it into Revit as parameters, so you can visualize them easily. But for today, we're just going to change some section sizes. I'm going to select this column here, for example, or just select a bunch of columns, because maybe I want to select some of the columns with a certain frame section. In this case, I'm going to take all with W18 by 130. I'm going to select. I can see that I selected all those columns down here, and I'm going to assign a new section size. So in this case, I'm going to select frame, section property, and I'm going to assign section size, for example, just 14 by 22. I'm going to apply this one and hit OK. So this means we changed all the section sizes in the lower floor to 14 by 22. Now to upload this change to Konstru, I have to go to Konstru again. Go to Tools, Konstru, and the same dialog again will appear, showing our models. I'm going to select Revit ETABS Demo, and now I can select Update Konstru. Now I can specify the changes I applied. So changed sections at base floor, for example, and I'm going to select Update Konstru. Now Konstru is going to build a review dialog about what we changed in our model, and this is going to be very interesting, because now if we flip over this dialog to by status, we will see that there's one element that we're actually deleting, and this is a level 1. And also down here we have new levels coming in. This is because in ETABS we can only have one level at a height that has a name like that. So we already had in our model 2 levels, story 1 that was exactly at the height of level 1, and a base level which is always required by ETABS. So those 2 levels are already in there, and they're going to be replaced, basically this level by this one, and you don't have to worry about it. It won't mess up your model or anything. And then we also have here some of the updated elements. Here we see there are 20 columns that have a profile change. And if I click the question mark, I can see that the profile changed from W18 by 130 to W14 by 22. I can close this dialog and I will see all those changes in here. You can also explore this by type, and then you will see all the elements, and you will see some of them that are filtered out. We're going to explain filters in another webinar where you can learn about more how to actually filter properties and elements. Now I'm going to select Finish Update, and these changes will be sent to the server. Now I'm clicking View Model again, and this takes me to my web viewer.
So what about analysis results? If you had run an analysis right now, could you synchronize those?
Yes, exactly. That's a good question. Yeah, you can upload analysis results from ETABS. That's not a problem. You have to run your analysis first and have to make sure that your model remains locked. And once it's locked, then you actually have the option in the Konstru dialog to upload this. If you want to learn more in general about Konstru, you can always go to the documentation tab. Up here in our web app, there's documentation, there's tutorials. In here, you will find a lot of information. So just look for the question you have. You might find it in there already. So what we see now after this upload is this is the actual change view that tells us about the difference from the upload which is committed to the upload earlier. You see this here on the right hand side. Here it says view by change, and it says compared to first upload. And this is the difference between our current upload that we just committed and the first upload. So we see there are 20 elements that have been updated, which are those elements down here. And we also have 2 added elements and 1 deleted one. These are the levels that we saw in the dialog earlier. Now we can also explore those in more detail. So for example, if you select one of those columns, on the right hand side, you will see there's a before and an after state for those profile sections. So we know exactly what changed. And those changes we will be downloading now into Revit. So now I'm going to back to Revit. And in Revit, I'm going to run Konstru again. And again, you got it already. You understand how this works. We have to select the same model again, Revit ETABS Demo. And then we can download into Revit. Now, again, Konstru is going to give us a change or a review dialog that tells us about the changes that are about to happen. And keep in mind also, this dialog, you can cancel it. So this gives you more security. So the idea is that at this point, if you don't like the changes that are coming in here, you can cancel it and nothing happens to your model. This gives you just more security. That's the idea. If I move this dialog a bit to the side, you will see this is going to be very interesting. So I move it to the side, and now I'm going to flip over to status, and I'm going to see 20 elements that have been updated. So if I click the question mark again, in Revit, we have a bit of more powerful review. You can actually see the element and it will be selected. So you can actually flip through those elements, and it gives you, depending on your current view, the view of this element. So this is really helpful because, you know, this element is going to change, and it's going to change its profile section from W18 by 130 to W14 by 22. So you know exactly what's going to happen, and you can actually approve those changes. In this case, we're going to do that. I'm going to say finish download, and those changes will be applied. Again, here there's the mapper popping up, telling us about some of the build-ups that we already have in our model, and also some of the profile sections that will be mapped. All of those are already in the model, and they should be fine. And you can see this on the right-hand side. There's a little check mark telling you that this is fine. So now we can say, OK, and those changes will be applied to our model. And as you can see now, if I click done, that those section sizes changed. They didn't make much sense, of course, because they're now smaller than before, but you get the point. So you can easily actually apply all the changes in ETABS and then just download them into Revit. So let's just step back. We already see this. This is a really powerful web viewer, and this should help you also to explore your model. We show that to you. And Jonathan is going to show you some more, or just explaining you briefly what else we can do. And we're going to show that in future webinars. So always keep posted and watch out for it.
Before I switch back to my screen, while we're still looking at the viewer on Max's screen, so under the hood, Max, if you just go to the history tab on the left, maybe. So under the hood, Konstru is building up now a history of changes to your project. And so every single time that we make an upload, it tracks that change. And what you can do now is you can view those changes here, but you can also share those with others. So there, you know, we have a feature called Change Report, and we could simply create a change report and share this with our collaborators so that everybody on the team can get a quick insight in 3D about what has changed from, you know, from today, from 2 weeks ago until today, for example. Well, anyway, there are many other things, and I'm going to take back the presentation now. Let me show my screen again. And so we only have 5 minutes left. So, but a few other things that I just wanted to mention here is that one thing that you can do with Konstru is also uploading 2 different files that have never been synchronized before. So unlike today, where we created an ETABS model from an existing Revit model, what if you had 2 separately created models? You can actually upload them, and you can compare differences, and you can again create change reports from those. And then the other thing is also you can combine parts from different models. So what if we had part of a model created in one platform and part of the model created in another platform? Or even more precisely, what if we had part of the element information coming from one platform? What if we had all the structural sizes coming from ETABS and all the geometric information coming from Revit? What if I wanted, if I wanted to only extract the structural sizing from the ETABS model into the Revit model? Konstru lets you do those kind of things. And somebody asked the question, why do you choose a web-based solution? And this is exactly the reason. In the web, we can offer all these kind of abilities in a easy-to-use 3D viewer. We can also use, of course, a web-based solution for sharing. So yeah, that's basically, I think, why we chose to go with the web-based solution. So yeah, let's open it up to questions. We have a couple of minutes left, not much time.
Yeah. So there was a question coming in from someone asking if I can upload cambers, that's numbers, into Konstru. At the moment, they're not implemented from the ETABS side, but we can add them, because what we always say and point out in our webinars, we are a small startup, so we are very responsive. If you need another property that we should just add and upload to your model, that's not a problem at all. So we can add that. And also from Revit, for example, you can upload any of the parameters. That's not a problem at all. Then there's another question, does Konstru have the ability to reject individual changes? No, at the moment we don't have that. In our filtering webinar, we're going to show you how to actually reject changes that are affecting entire properties, like materials of beams, for example, and stuff like that. But we don't have it on an element base. No.
Another question, are you able, oh, this is actually the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes the same question. And you're right, we should add it. Okay, then is your system compatible with IFC, ArchiCAD, iEcoSim, and others? So right now, it's only compatible with what we showed. 8 different programs: Dynamo, Grasshopper, Tekla, Revit, Excel, ETABS, SAP, and RAM structural system. We do not yet support Tekla Structural Designer. We only support the actual detailing software. But we are always adding new functionality, and we are in fact right now working with some customers to test out another plugin. So I would say, yeah, come back in a few months, and there should be something else. And if there's a request, then we can also, if there's a an urgent request, then we will usually prioritize that as well.
There is another question: if you're, what are the privacy policies regarding the uploaded files? So you can actually explore our privacy policy online. Also, we have it on our website, but also the data remains yours. So we're not even allowed to see that. So this means that if we need to assist you, for example, you usually have to invite us to your model, because we cannot just look at it. So the data remains yours and we cannot touch it.
Okay. So
and then we have another: can you please do a webinar focusing on problems with ETABS analysis from a model converted from Revit? Yes, we have a webinar on that you can actually find online and also in our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you just look for Konstru, you will find our channel. And in there, you will find one of the webinars. We can send that to you, and we will also hold another one on that. So you can also just wait, or you watch it online and it will go through all the details.
I think this is similar to the questions that just came in. Also, hi, I would like to know, what are the criteria to respect when modeling the model in Revit in order to capture the right analysis model? Do you have a procedure to follow? We did not show this today. We do have a way of cleaning up a model. We do have a model repair feature, which lets you, repair the connectivity of a Revit model, for example, to better run a structural analysis of. So that's one thing that we always recommend you do, at least to check the connectivity, and then also to use the automated repair tool for that. Yeah, that's probably the main criteria. Yeah. And then also, when possible, export the analysis model from the Revit model.
Then there's also a question: is Konstru compatible with other structural Grasshopper plugins like Caramba? Yes, of course. So you can actually use it in Grasshopper, and you can get out your geometry of your beams, and then you can just feed them into Caramba. So that's not a problem at all. We actually also have an open source script that we're working on for Visual Arc, if you're using that. And we will add more open source scripts, Grasshopper scripts, that will be online, and there you can actually combine it with other tools.
Somebody.
And is Konstru aimed at being a replacement to RAM's ISM? That's a very good question. Well, it's kind of similar. We don't see ourselves as a replacement. We actually work together in some parts with ISM, and we're actually also working on a solution to connect to ISM. ISM deals with different applications than we do, but there is a certain similarity, of course. We have other software that they don't support, and they have software that we don't support. So actually, we would benefit from connecting those two.
There's so many. We went like all over.
Many questions. Sorry, guys. We just have to read through all of them. The more you type, the longer we have to read.
Lower risk for engineers. Oh, I don't know which one this one refers to. Can you illustrate how this can lower risk for engineers? Maybe we need a bit more info for this question.
We would get back to you. You can also send us emails, and that's not a problem. We will answer your questions later as well. Yeah, then there's also a question: is there an option to break beam elements into individual elements? So like if we were thinking about a tool that allows you to split columns or beams, for example, automatically. We don't have it at the moment. What we have it the other way around. So if you have segmented beams, for example, in ETABS, you can group them and upload them as one, and it will appear as one beam or one wall, also for floors. We will add splitting as we go, and then you can also split them automatically.
There are some questions about, they have been in the past and they're again today, and I'll just summarize this. If there are any language experts out there that want to help us translate the application, let us know. We're definitely looking into that right now. This is pretty high on our to-do list. So we'll talk later about that.
Yeah.
Okay, there are more questions. Whoa.
And there's a question, are there plans to make a similar platform to use by architects? At the moment, not, but in the future, we might look into that, so we could also add more elements. We will keep you posted about updates about that. And of course, there would be a benefit of having architectural elements in there.
Another question, do you have the opportunity to visualize any sort of data or just the predefined data like profiles and rotations and sections and materials? No, you can visualize any data that is inside of the BIM model, or not just BIM as in coming out of the analysis software or out of the Revit or Tekla. So any attribute that you have in the model, you can visualize, you can color code the model by.
And there's another follow-up question on the ISM question we had earlier, and to use what is the difference, or how is this a replacement to ISM? Someone is asking if they could use RAM with Konstru. And yes, you can, but RAM, be aware of the different versions, because we support RAM structural systems. That's the only one we can support. We do not support RAM concept, for example. If you want to use it with RAM concept, you can reach out to us, send us an email, and we can actually give you a preview version of the ISM connector. This would allow you to download your model into ISM and therefore go into concept, for example. But at the moment, we only support RAM structural system.
Okay, there's still a few more questions, but we're already running over time. So I think we will get back to everyone who we haven't answered by email. And also, please do send us questions. There's a chat. Actually, Max, could you just show your screen one more time or actually, maybe I'll just show mine. There's a chat window. Let's see. Never mind. I will not show it right now. I don't have it open. But anyway, you can chat with us. You can send us emails. We're accessible through many different ways. So please get in touch, and we're always happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon with the next webinar.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.